Hey folks, so Alina is the only one that's asked questions so far. So I'm going to answer this question. Three questions. Um, so are we just supposed to study this week? Uh, the expectation coming down from administration is that we will be communicating clearly with you by Thursday about what the expectations are for the rest of the week. Um, for now, the expectation was we were going to get ready to take a test. We are not going to take that test until we get back to school and meet face to face. I don't exactly know when that's going to be, but as of right now, it is April the 1st. So you can imagine the next meeting that we have on April the 1st, which would for us, let's see, it would be April 1st. Um, so I don't know um, really what is to come soon, but April 1st looks like it's going to be the day. We have an hour and a half meeting that day, so we would still have our test on that day. So, do I think Trump is responding well to the virus? So I'm gonna not share my personal opinion about the effectiveness of the Trump response or the Biden and Sanders. What I am going to share is that the world markets are shuddering. Um, I think that we are taking note of what's happened in China and especially now in Italy, and taking appropriate measures. I think that they're doing the right thing by listening to the CDC and saying everybody should stay home and don't go to the movies and don't go out to restaurants unless you're getting takeout. Um, I do fear for some of our small businesses in our area that they're gonna feel this pretty bad. So if somebody, some of your friends who own small businesses, and you were going to go out to eat anyways, like Ray's Pizza. We have some of your classmates, their parents own Ray's Pizza or Salsaritas. You know, those small businesses in our area that are owned by some of your friends. Now's the time to help support them if you were going to go use that money anyway somewhere else. Um, but we are hugely in uncharted territories in terms of what's going on in the markets, what the CDC is doing, and how the markets are reacting. The Fed, of course, bought anywhere between 500 billion and 700 billion dollars in securities, and lowered the interest rate pretty much as low as it can go. I don't think we'll see negative interest rates. I don't think that's really going to be a thing. But this absolutely applies 100% to the things that you guys have been learning in the last two units. This is fiscal and monetary policy at its best, where we are being thrust into a recessionary gap and the government's trying to figure out how it can help. This is Keynesian economics 101. It's what does the government have to do in order to bridge that gap? So the fiscal policy measures that are being discussed right now are really interesting. And they're talking about some government loans and grants going to some major industries that need to survive this shuttering. So they're talking to airlines, hotels, the tourist businesses are looking right now somewhere around $25 billion in money coming from the federal government. And a freeze on payroll taxes is being discussed as well. So the interesting conundrum right now is if they continue to shut down businesses like Ohio and Illinois with restaurants, um, you know, freezing payroll taxes don't do anything for people who aren't getting hours. So the question is what is the government willing to do to subsidize those? And my one thought is, are we going to see some form of universal basic income for the foreseeable future? Is that something that a Republican House is willing to do? And right now, I think that the president's willing to do anything to keep the economy afloat. So I'd be very interested to see if that's going to happen, when that's going to happen, how long it'll last. Um, so I don't know. I'm very interested to see what happens in the coming days and weeks. Again, this is something unheard of, to see the American economy completely shutting down, and so yeah. Uh, the one thing that a lot of folks are really hanging on to is what's happening in the stock market. And I would urge you to not freak out. This happens about every decade or so in the stock markets where you have this correction that happens. We've been in a bull market, meaning we've had an expanding stock market for a decade. So seeing it shudder and come back down is not unheard of whatsoever. I would urge you to not get caught in the politically driven talking heads right now about, oh, this is going to wreck the president for reelection, or how he responds is going to, decide what happens in the election. I think that this is a natural thing that happens in times of crisis. The markets do shudder. The important thing, especially to remember about the stock market, it is 100% driven on feelings and people looking at businesses that I feel good about this business or I don't feel good about this business. Well, right now, I don't feel like stepping on an airplane, so no way am I going to invest money in airlines. And that's exactly what investors are doing. Is they're not investing in companies because they don't think they're going to make money right now, and they're not going to. The way that the coronavirus is affecting international business and small business is exactly how you would think it would. Excuse me. So don't get too freaked out about the stock market or what's going on there. Uh, I'm not saying to go live your life as usual. You need to stay at home if at all possible. Keep your dealings outside to a minimum. Take care of yourself and your family around the house. Um, but outside of that, the economy, this is what macro is. It's looking at what happens to international markets and what should be the outcome. Our government currently and the Federal Reserve System is reacting exactly how it should, and exactly how you should expect it to. You should see some kind of laxing on income taxes right now, which the president and the government's already in discussion about. But we're also in that lag time that we talked about, where the identification of the issue has now been said. They're figuring out what the correct plan is. Now they've got to take it to legislation and then the implementation process. So the fun part is now we get to see actually in action, is how long do those lags last? How long is it going to take for the government to be able to figure out what the appropriate measure is, get the legislation passed, and put it in place? And the longer it takes them, the harder people are going to be hurt. So I think they're acting appropriately via the normal economic measures that we would see. So I hope I have answered your questions. And yeah, have a great day. Ask some more.